Welcome to Fiery Discourse, your podcast and media featuring dragonesses, female dinosaurs, and other similar stories and scalies. I'm your host, Ludmillanon, and with me are my co-hosts, Angron, Mathmachine, and The Shark. Today is our 174th episode, and we're discussing the 2025 My Status as an Assassin Obviously Exceeds the Heroes episode, The Assassin Takes Care of the Wounded, and The Assassin Plays with a Cat, to conclude our second ever Isekai Month. So, let's get things started.
On today's episode of My Status as an Assassin Obviously Sees the Heroes because I was reincarnated as an assassin, have been killing slimes for 300 years, picked up a girl in a dungeon, and get revenge with my level 9999 gacha.
Wow.
I don't know what's worse, the fact that I only used 5 anime for that joke, or the fact that one of those anime actually has a longer title than that.
Indeed. I'm not crazed knifeman, Dad. I'm an assassin. Difference being one's a job and the other's mental sickness.
Ha, nice one. You listeners has probably noticed how long are the names of some of these shows, and it's like, funny. In the West, we have movies simply called like Tangled or Frozen. In Japan, they will call it something like, I was born with ice powers and I froze my sister for 7 years and I had to learn how to control it until my powers went loose and I created giant array of snowmen and monsters.
Yeah. The tamer example being the Neverhood Chronicles being named Clayman in Japan. That is honestly how strange Japan can be with their names sometimes.
My Status as an Assassin Obviously Exceeds the Heroes began as a novel written in 2017 and got an anime in 2025. The anime is about Akira, a high schooler, and his classmates who, shock of shockers, have been sent to another world. While the others get all sorts of fantastic abilities, Akira becomes a mere assassin and uses his skills to try and find himself in this new world. Now, what's interesting, as we mentioned earlier, we are not just talking about The Assassin Plays with a Cat, we are also talking about the last 5 minutes of the previous episode, The Assassin Takes Care of the Wounded, as it directly ties into this episode in ways that you will find out. Oh, go ahead, Angron.
Yeah, and cutting back to him just getting the assassin thing, yeah, that title of the anime he's a part of isn't exactly misleading because, yeah, he may be an assassin, but somehow he is the strongest and more, shall we say, capable assassin compared to even the aforementioned hero. Take that as you will.
The episode we're going to talk about first is The Assassin Takes Care of the Wounded, and we're going to get to that part right now. The part of The Assassin Takes Care of the Wounded that we will talk about begins with Akira having rescued Amelia, an elf princess, from various monsters. As they get to the 80th floor, the pair are then confronted by a dragoness. This dragoness has dark blue scales with yellow fronds, a glowing yellow mouth, and yellow eyes! So help me God, she has yellow eyes!
The eyes!
The dragoness then shoots blue energy at them, as Akira makes himself invincible, while Amelia casts gravity, causing the dragoness to nearly be knocked to the ground. I do love this little detail that they didn't have to put in, but I'm really glad they did. The dragoness also has yellow pupils that really is just such an amazing tiny detail that no one would get, but the fact that they did put it in is really something else.
Yeah, whereas most beasts would utilize red, maybe green, this one takes the unique approach and utilizes yellow instead. The rarely used color of fear and evil.
The dragoness then quickly manages to recover and manages to smack Akira directly into the wall, scaling Amelia. She notes that the dragoness is chasing him by using his mana, telling him to distract her by using his surroundings. Akira notes that is impossible, as the dragoness then swoops down towards him. Akira then hits the dragoness with an energy blast, then leaps up towards her and stabs her in one of the eyes, which does not kill her despite what you might think on other isekai, but no, this is not a fatal blow, thankfully.
Yeah, Legend of Zelda this ain't, thankfully.
The dragoness then crashes to the ground as Amelia asks how he was able to do that. Akira explains that he didn't defuse his mana, but he controlled the mana around him. Amelia is surprised that he could do such a thing, as Akira then notices something else. The episode ends with the dragoness starting to glow as Akira is shocked by this. And yeah, that's actually it for the first part, and really might be kind of it for the dragoness part as well, but you'll find out why we're going to talk about the next episode right now.
Oh my goodness. First the yellow eyes, now a cat, truly the signs of evil!
The main episode we are going to talk about, The Assassin Plays with a Cat, begins with Akira and Amelia watching as the dragoness then transforms into a giant cat. This is all the intro we get, by the way. This is the shortest pre-episode intro that we have seen for Isekai Month yet, because this is literally maybe about 30, 45 seconds, which actually kind of surprised me just how quickly they got to the opening. We then get to the opening of the show, where we see a shot of a stormy sky before panning down to a CGI tower. As the camera follows down the CGI tower, we hear Latin chanting, which I don't know for you guys, but for me, it just reminds me a lot of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, so there's that.
The intro only being that the dragon transforms into a cat, and then we cut to the actual song intro itself. I'll explain that by asking this. What more intro do you need than a kitty?
Exactly.
True. After we pan down to the tower, we then see Akira standing on the roof of a building and overlooking a city. This intro is a lot more epic compared to some of the other isekai we've seen, and I really do like it. I think it sounds really good in that. We then get the title card appearing over this shot, as we then see Akira running past various backgrounds. We then cut to shots of all the different characters of the anime, then to Akira trapped in red chains before breaking them. He punches the ground, tackling a minotaur, before we then get an over-the-shoulder shot of him. We then cut to the cat form of the Dragoness running alongside a rooftop before a shot of two other characters standing on a castle turret. One character transitions into Akira, who leaps in front of a blue background and reaches out to Amelia. We then see another evil character looming over them, as we then cut to Akira. The episode ends with Akira holding out his knife, then turning invisible as the title card appears once again.
So you see it predominantly in this intro, but you would notice it also throughout the series as a whole. The animation style that they're using for this anime is a very 90s / early 2000s retro throwback style. The characters are very sharp and angular, and they have a heavy overuse of shading on the characters themselves. You see light shadows all over all parts of their bodies. It looks really nice seeing this in a modern anime. They sort of cleaned it up from the 90s style, but kept that 90s aesthetic going, and it's just really nice and cool to see in the modern era. No other anime really does this.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Not gonna lie, when I was watching this anime, I was looking at the animation style and I was just like, what does this remind me of? There's just so many anime that this immediately reminds me of. Stuff like Voltron anime, Transformers technically, just so many things. Predominantly, and honestly, fittingly enough, Sailor Moon came to mind when I saw this, but I'm just can't be a coincidence, right? I mean, surely this can't be the same people who worked on that, working on this. I gotta agree that the angular style here definitely is a treat for the eyes, even compared to other anime that we've covered already.
The studio that made this anime might have worked in, maybe something we covered before or any other anime you've seen, or even the art director alone could make it look similar to other animes, not just an entire team.
It's one of those shows that it feels like, as Matt said, from the 90s, but in a really good sort of way. When we cut back to the episode, Amelia says that the Dragoness is low on health, but still alive, and she has the transformation exoskeleton. She explains that Akira would never be able to beat a real dragon so easily, as the monster is instead a black cat. And this is where things get kind of interesting for this podcast episode, because this character technically has no gender. They are genderless. But we are talking about this character, the Black Cat, as we get to know by another name in a little while, on the podcast because she is surmised to be female, or at least has enough feminine aspects to her, despite the fact that they do refer the character rather, with masculine pronouns a couple of times in the dub. So we just want to get that out of the way.
I think I know where you're about to come from, because with anime like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, the dub, you oftentimes hear feminine voices on characters who are canonically non-gendered, or at the very least neutral gendered, even though at certain points, Yu-Gi-Oh! Especially, you hear characters are overall confirmed female in that regard. I mean, I understand the whole deal about stuff getting lost in translation. This was explained to me before, but I mostly understand how even with that distinction, it can still be a little confusing sometimes.
The explanation I'm going to give for this is it's the same thing as Digimon. Basically, everyone knows the Digimon Renamon because one of the most popular characters on the internet.
Huh.
Digimon have no gender. They explicitly state that Digimon are genderless. They just exist as its. Because they used a voice actress for Renamon, everyone associates Renamon as female. So the same rule applies here. You hear the voice of the genderless monster, you're going to associate that gender with the monster.
Akira asks Amelia if she's using her World Eye skill, as Amelia is surprised that he isn't using his. Akira sadly notes that he can't use it yet, and when he levels up, he might be able to. Amelia notes that he is choosing to shun the skill as the cat wakes up, speaking in a feminine voice with a slightly distorted British accent that, let's get out of the way right now. Definitely with the accent and the whole design of this character, she's basically just evil kaiju Luna from Sailor Moon.
Yep.
The cat then wonders how they were beat by such novices, then says that they thought it'd be fun to transform into a dragon that they saw once. Oh, go ahead, Math.
Yeah, between the fact that she has a very similar fur pattern and like shade, not the same, but a similar style of marking on her forehead, and the fact that they use a British voice actress or a British sounding voice actress for her, two things came to my head immediately as soon as Knight started talking. One, where are the rest of the Sailor Scouts? And two, the author of Sailor Moon gonna sue a bitch.
Unless they worked on this, like I said. Yeah, also, Knight, darling, honey, the worst thing you can do in an isekai is pick a dragoness form and not change back when you encounter the protagonist, because that's liable for a few scars or two.
Yep, definitely. She got off easy there, let's put it that way. Akira is shocked to see the cat talking, as the black cat then explains that they are no mere monster, and that the demon lord infused them with both intelligence and reason. Amelia and Akira are still surprised at this, as the cat continues to say how she doesn't mind being beaten by the elf, but losing to, and this is a direct quote, a brat who hasn't been alive for a century annoys her greatly. Akira notes that she's in a bad way, as she's unable to move while he spins his kunai. The cat asks to give Akira a message that the demon lord has for him. Akira asks what it is, as she says, I beckon you to join me in the volcano, the land of the demons, where I will wait for you in my castle. As we get a shot of the background with no one in the shot, which is also something else that this anime really likes to do, it actually does look pretty good, I'm not gonna lie, because it shows out the backgrounds, and the backgrounds are just beautifully done in this show. Really impressive stuff. Akira then wonders how the demon lord knows of him, and how he'd know that Akira would be here. The cat says that they don't know, saying how they don't know how the demon lord's brilliant mind works. The cat then lies down and says, you may kill me now. Obviously, SpongeBob and Patsy are going to show up with a coffin as well. Okay, get in.
Yeah.
Nice.
Akira says that he won't do that, as the cat says that they're aware how the other races thinks of both demons and monsters, ready for him to get it over with. Akira says he won't do it, as a flashback shows that he doesn't think all demons are evil, and I want to just point out this. In the dub, Akira actually says it feels a little bit sus.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the moment I heard that line, I was immediately like, I honestly had a feeling that everyone was going to be like, oh, that line. And to be perfectly honest, yeah, I was right on the money.
Yeah, you can tell this anime, or at least the dub, is quite recent.
I'm just glad that this came out now rather than a couple of years ago, because we might have heard something really bad like, oh, you sussy baka.
Oh,
please.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is an anime. It is an anime.
Unfortunately.
However, although the imposter does not come out of a vent and attack him, Amelia notes that the door won't open until the boss is defeated, as Akira says they'll have to find another way. The cat asks why Akira won't kill them, as Akira says that he has a soft spot for cats and wouldn't want to stain her coat. He also notes how the cat is the only monster so far that he can have a conversation with. The cat tells him, ridicule me all you want, but you don't intend to starve to death in here, as Akira agrees, saying that there must be a workaround. Amelia comes up with the idea of using the Monster Pact, and yeah, that's a good idea. Use the Monster Pact. It'll be a graveyard smash. Amelia then says that if Akira makes the cat his familiar, this means that it will be bonded to him and they can leave. The cat says that is a good idea, but it would take far too much mana that a novice like Akira wouldn't have. Amelia says that the move he did in order to stop the cat in her dragoness form was one that no one has done, quote, since the hero of legend. The cat is shocked that Akira managed to use mana outside of his body, as Amelia notes that it might not work. Akira asks what will happen if he fails, as the cat says that either one or both of them will end up perishing. Akira says it's fine by him, as Amelia is shocked over how he's risking his life, and the cat is fine either way. Akira then gets upset about the cat not caring whether she lives or dies, and another direct quote here, It really pisses me off.
Honestly, though, hearing that line, that's pretty accurate to a cat overall behavior. It's just like, yeah, don't care if I live or die. Do what you gotta do. Total nonchalant cat behavior.
What I find interesting that is shown particularly well in this episode is that Akira, as an assassin, actually has a great value and respect for life, which is why he doesn't like when other people say, oh, I have no value in my life, or oh, my life is worthless, or shit like that. That actually genuinely does upset him because he so strongly values the sanctity of life.
Yeah, to take a line from Runan from Dragon Prince, we take lives, but we do not take them lightly.
And as you pointed out earlier in the professional have standards. Be polite and be efficient.
Have a plan to kill everyone you meet.
The cat says that nothing good will come from its existence as it lowers its head. Akira then asks how the pact works, as Amelia then says that first he must give the cat a name. After thinking for a few moments, he decides to give the cat the name Night, as she is both as dark and beautiful as the night sky back home, and in a nice touch, she actually appears to be intrigued by what he's saying. Does give her a lot of character development. I like that. I really like how they made this character. They gave her so much emotion just by the way she looks at things. So, be interesting with the Dragoness Scale in a little bit. Amelia then says that the next step is to place his hand on Night and cast mana into the cat, thus linking their souls. The elf warns him that if the spell fails, he will die, as he says that he won't die. We then see him placing his hands on her paw as we get a really unique transition, showing a close-up of his head as an ocean appears before him. We then cut to Akira falling as he wonders if he is in the cat's mind. As he falls above a burning city, we see the cat let out a roar and jump on a building, crushing it. After people try to run away but are crushed by the rubble, Akira shouts for Night to stop, as she then opens her mouth and shoots a red energy blast at the man. And obviously, we know what's going to happen next. SpongeBob's going to show up. I think she got the point.
Nice.
Indeed.
What actually happens is that Akira manages to block the attack as Night tells him that she has to kill him, as slaying the cat is the only way for him to survive. Back in the real world, quote-unquote, we see Akira begin to bleed. Back in Night's mind, Akira throws an attack at the feline as they block it, asking him if he is ready to fight her and tells him to strike the cat down. She then roars and her claws become more monstrous as Akira doesn't fight her, instead just impaling himself on her claws. And don't worry, unlike another episode, this is a regular impalement, not a special kind of impalement. I can't believe I even have to make that warning, but that's where we are right now. Night is shocked at this, as her eyes widen, while she says that he had to kill her to get out of here. Akira says that he doesn't want to do that, and deep down, he knows that she doesn't want to kill him either. Thankfully, we don't live in the timeline where she did want to kill him, and the rest of the series is just about a giant kaiju cat causing havoc and mayhem.
If only.
Instead, we then get various shots of the backgrounds again, really showing just how detailed this is. It's very, very impressive. As Night says that she is a monster, while Akira asks her about whether there's a law that all monsters have to kill non-monsters. Night explains that it is instinct, as Akira notes how she hates doing it and hates living this way, wondering if there is something better for her. As he promises that her days of senseless destruction are over, Night then turns into a much smaller cat, as she then lays in Akira's lap and he pets her. The pair then see a sunrise as they both wake up, with Akira asking if the pact is over.
So a common thing on the internet these days is because of Mandalorian, you hear the line, I wish to see the child all the time. After seeing this, I have a thing of my own. I wish to pet the kitty.
Pets the kitty cats. Pets the kitty cats. Anyway, Shark.
Do you wanna pet the kitty? Yes, I want to pet the kitty.
Thank you so much, Oscar. Amelia happily yells that Akira did it, as he pets Knight's head, before noting that the cat has a mark on her head that he has on his hands. The markings glow, as Amelia notes that's their soul link. Knight says how she will witness their journey, as Akira tells her his full name, and Knight swears her loyalty to him. Amelia introduces herself to Knight, as Knight says, any friend of my master's is deserving of my respect. A rune then appears on the ground, as Knight explains that it is there because she is no longer considered a boss. Akira then warns her that she shouldn't try to push herself, as Knight says that the exit will not vanish until used, then says that she can rest and recover. Amelia suggests to talk about each other in the meantime, as Knight agrees while Akira cuddles up against her, which, don't worry, we get more of that later, and every time it happens, it is extremely adorable. We then cut to Tsukasa, another hero, and his group, as they have found himself in a village that looks like feudal Japan. One of the other heroes says that this place was only founded a few generations back, as a woman is excited to see the rest of it. We cut to two of the other heroes leering at two of the girls in geisha outfits, annoying another one of the party. The two ask if they look weird in the outfits, as the group all then eat, talking about going to the hot springs and doing other things. As one of the girls is impressed by the accuracy of the arrow it's in, she also eats a lot of wasabi.
Well, this is basically just an excuse to be all like, oh, hey, ain't Japan, they get to relive this shit, and it's so, honestly, it's just been a tiny little distraction from the semi-main plot and focuses on the other heroes, but to be honest, I really liked this part. Like, it really gives attention to all the little details that Edo Japan had in the past, and seeing it in a fantasy isekai is honestly a nice touch, to be honest.
Tsukasa then says, let's get down to business, and no, it's not to defeat the Huns. He notes that they are running out of money fast and need to find work. Another man suggests to them to become adventurers, noting how they saw others on their way there and that they can sign up with the guild. Tsukasa agrees with this, also saying how they need information about this world for them to talk to everyone they see and find every book that they can get their hands on. One man is skeptical about finding a book with a magic cheat code for getting home, as another one wonders if they should even go back. He says that the only way to get home is to defeat the Demon Lord, as the king and princess summon them there, and once they defeat the Demon Lord, the king and the princess will finally be in their debt. Oh, go ahead, Shark.
Man, if only they got Isekai into Banjo-Kazooie, then they could actually find a cheating book that will take them home.
Tsukasa suggests they go there as soon as they get both money and information, as one of the other members of the party, a long-haired stoic man, says for them to wait for Akira, and that Akira will eventually come there. He notes that Akira is a lot stronger than they all think, and it would be foolish to go on without him. Two other members agree, with one of them noting how he has really good taste in isekai, and kind of a weird meta moment that, at least for me, kind of felt a little out of place. I don't know, it just didn't click for me.
Well, first of all, isekai, so that definitely makes sense that they would know what that sort of thing is. That would definitely be someone for Math to talk shop with when it comes to isekai.
Right. This is a common thing with modern isekai, particularly since about 2020 or so, where they reference that, oh, this is just like those isekai I read. Because Japan has this tendency when they base stuff on modern day, they don't shy away from, oh, these kind of products don't exist, or oh, there's no other animated movies that exist. This is just the sole animated movie. We aren't going to reference other animated movies. No, Japan likes to pretend like, you know the world exists, we know the world exists. We're not going to name specific products or specific brands. We're still going to show shit.
One of them then brings up how Akira might have committed a murder, as a long-haired man says that they were deceived under a magical curse. One of the women says that, despite that, Akira will be off doing his own thing, and wonders if he'll even want to help them. Tsukasa agrees with them, as he notes that, although Akira is strong, there is no way he will team up with them. He mentions how he and Akira have been in the same class since kindergarten, and yet Akira has never spoken to him once, as the long-haired man agrees with this. Tsukasa then says how only the hero's holy sword can beat the Demon Lord, and Akira's power difference wouldn't help them at this point. They all have to get as strong as he is in order to have Akira help them all out, and once they get as strong as him, they will seek him out. They then all agree to begin their training as we cut to black. When the show comes back, we see a shadow of a woman running, as it turns out to be Amelia. And again, this shot of this forest background just looks so beautiful. It actually is really impressive.
The director of this show has been working in the industry since the early 80s, and I think if nothing else, he has honed his craft on backgrounds to such a degree that you could make an entire show of nothing but backgrounds. Spoilers, that's a lot of what this show is, and you'd be happy.
But it's not just the backgrounds either. The movements, the textures, just like, this is honestly modern 2D at its finest, in my opinion. Say what you will about stuff like Arifureta and Overlord, and to a very lesser extent, Killing Slimes, I think this, out of all the shows we've seen, is the most polished. I do not say that lightly.
I think what really helps is that the kind of backgrounds that they're using, they have this sort of like old school 50s era Disney watercolor background sort of vibe. Like if you compared this to that painting of the castle under the starry night, it would look very similar and you could get the same kind of vibe. And it just helps to really show off how atmospheric this is while also having this sort of soothing appearance to it.
That is true. That is true. Like I said, this part in particular is really where it gets to stand out, and you can see why. Amelia is held up by a bunch of archers as she asks why, with another female elf asking why she is still alive. Amelia then teleports away, but then falls off a cliff. She narrates that she was then driven out of her homeland and swallowed by a dark slime, and when she woke up, she was with Akira. Akira notes that she had a tough time, as Knight is confused at this, saying that slimes don't eat people, and wonders how the elf managed to survive all that. Amelia says that all of this was worth it because she got to meet Akira, as he wonders if she's joking, saying how they have to go back to her homelands.
Yeah, that slime comment was something that caught me a little off guard, because most slimes in isekai or otherwise have generally their acidic nature makes it possible for them to literally eat virtually anything. I heard, and I was like a little fascinated that this world of all places has slimes that are not only non-lethal but actually helpful, which, yeah, was definitely a surprise to say the least.
Amelia then says that she has no home, like Bela Lugosi, as her little sister was the one who banished her. Akira suggests talking to her, as Amelia says that she can't, while Akira reflects on how families should always try to work through things. He then mentions that he had a little sister, and in a really neat touch that, again, I did not expect them to do, we then cut to our world, where he presents his sister with a new phone because the screen cracked, as she is shocked that, sarcastically, he worked his fingers to the bone to get this to her. She seems more annoyed than anything else as their mother arrives. The mother tells the sister that Akira gave her the phone because he loves her, as the sister says, "That's why it pisses me off." Akira jokes, "That must be sister for thank you," as they then all laugh, and we end this particular flashback on a family photo on the shelf, and I'm actually kind of surprised because I like when isekai do this. It's something that is so creative that we actually get to see what their life was like before, kind of like what happened last week and that. I'm actually surprised more of them don't do that.
You don't really get that too much with the most isekai. The most you get is like a little wink and a nod here and there, especially with stuff like Overlord and Dungeons and Dragons to an extent. Here, you get a lot more backstory than just simply they came from another world, they were high school, and this guy just so happens to be pretty introverted, yada yada. I really appreciate that. Like, granted, Arifureta also did something a little similar. This, compared to all the other stuff that we've covered before, is a lot more polished and refined compared to them, and it's definitely one of those things that gets me a lot more invested in the character as a whole.
Akira then tells Amelia that despite her differences, she still has her family. Knight realizes that Akira was talking about his families in his original world, as Amelia says that he must miss them so much. Akira says how he would give anything to return home, but says that before he does that, he has to do something else. Akira then remarks that in his world, he was practically invisible, but in this world, he met someone who taught him how to survive, as the figure was then murdered. As aura begins to go off all around Akira, the man says that his friend never would have died if he ever met Akira. Akira says that he will not return home until he avenges the commander, as both Amelia and Knight tell him to calm down and not give in to darkness. Amelia and Knight both know of the man that Akira is talking about, saying that the commander was a man of great renown. Akira then takes off his glove and waves it to Knight, who, in an adorable moment, she starts meowing and reaching out to it. She asks why he's doing that, as Akira says he was trying to lighten the mood as he played with stray cats like that back on Earth. Knight huffs that she is not a stray, as Amelia says in a really funny tone, "I would like to play the stray game too," with Knight replying, "I would strongly advise you not to." And they have such good chemistry. I could easily see that this character would become a fan favorite for a reason. In a truly adorable moment, one of the best moments of the episode, Akira and Amelia both cuddle up next to Knight, saying how they both love cats, as Knight is annoyed at this, telling them to take things seriously.
I said it before, I'll say it again. I wish to pet the kitty.
I'm gonna go pet the kitty. Gets his face clawed like Opal from My Little Pony.
Knight then tells Akira how if one of them dies, the other dies as well thanks to their soul bond. Knight then says how she can communicate with him no matter how far apart they are, as Akira calls her my telepathic kitty, as Amelia turns out to be jealous. Not of Akira, but of Knight. So, unfortunately, do we get a transformation of Amelia turning into a giant cat? We can only speculate.
Would be better if it was a dragon, but
Much better, but yeah, kind of everything. Knight then yawns, as Akira then says that it's time for them to head out. They stand before the circle, as Knight says that she doesn't know where it will take them, as there are very few demons or monsters who can even make such a summoning circle. Akira says that once he gets revenge, he will go to the demon's realm and learn their power. He then looks towards Knight and says that he'll tell the demon lord that she did a good job. Amelia says that she knows of these circles, and if only one of the three going in it makes a wish, it will take all three of them to that location. Akira notes that means they won't know where they're going until they get there, as Amelia says that she doesn't care, and she'll go anywhere with him. Akira sarcastically remarks because her stomach will be full, then thinks that the circle might end up taking him home, but dismisses this, saying he has a job to do first. And compare and contrast here, I like Akira so much better than Hajime from Artifiorda. I mean, he is such a better character. It is ridiculous. I'm sorry, more power to you if you like that show, no problem. But Akira is what Hajime should have been, at least in my opinion.
High bar you're setting there, actually.
okay. In Hajime's defense, Guy was betrayed by one of his own, but compared to Akira, Guy was sent down in a labyrinth with literally nothing except his own wits and his own seemingly useless power to survive. And yet, this guy lost an arm and was scared half to death, and that just made him snap compared to Akira. Akira, by contrast, not only had people bolster him, help him be a better person. Hajime sort of had that, but again, the whole betrayal thing and him getting cast down into the deep made him a lot less. I get how Akira is better than Hajime, but I would not discredit Hajime as a person, given everything he's been through.
The trio then step into the circle and find themselves transported into a forest. Seeing a giant glowing tree, Knight realizes that they are in the realm of the elves. Akira notes that is some distance, as Amelia says that she didn't want to return yet. A figure in a tree then shoots an arrow at the trio, as Akira saves Amelia from getting hit. Akira then knocks one arrow out of the air with his kunai, then holds the elf at knife point, saying, "One move and you're dead." Amelia and Knight both run up to him, as the elf says he was there to investigate the circle, but he never knew that he'd find their homeland's traitor. The elf says that Amelia is not their princess anymore and to run away, as Akira knocks out the elf, calling him an asshole. Amelia thanks Akira, but Akira knows that they're not safe yet, as dozens of other archers appear in the trees. Amelia's sister Kilika shows up, calling Amelia the child of blight. The episode ends with Akira and Knight looking at each other, then cutting to Amelia and Kakilia looking at each other with hatred, as Akira says, "Oi, this is one family feud." Womp womp womp. The ending begins with a blue rose showing up, before it then pans over to show a shot of Amelia as we see her flying in front of an ocean before sleeping. We then cut to a bunch of lanterns in the water, before we see a giant multicolored whale swimming over it. The lanterns in the water here, at least for me, remind me so much of the I See the Light sequence from Tangled.
I can see why.
Yeah.
Especially because Amelia takes a lantern and lets it float in the sky as the whale continues to swim off in the background. The whale is actually made of CGI, but unlike other examples that we've talked about, he actually looks really good. I'm actually surprised at how well done the CGI for this whale is, which normally I wouldn't comment on, but after seeing how Tio Claris looked, this is really impressive stuff.
I feel like the outro is just the artists flexing how good they are with the backgrounds and these details and the bright visuals that they're using for this anime, and it is gorgeous.
Yeah, I gotta agree. As much as I like Arfaretta and Overlord, I gotta say that in terms of sheer polish and just presentation, Assassin has both of them beat.
I have to agree with Matt that this is certainly probably the prettiest anime we've done of Isekai Month so far because this just looks beautiful. Now, that's the ending of the ending, but the show is not over yet because it ends with a short preview of the next episode, which, interestingly enough, has absolutely zero sound. So it's like they're showing you what's going to happen in it, but the context of what's going to happen is lost, which actually is kind of creative. Not going to lie, that actually is something that takes a lot of guts to do.
To further avoid the possibility of spoilers, they even show the events that the little clips that they're showing out of order. So none of this happens in the order that they're showing it to avoid the possibility of people figuring out, okay, this is what happens in the episode because yada yada blah blah. They really went the extra mile to try and avoid spoilers. They just gave you enough breadcrumbs to be like, oh, that looks interesting. I want to see what happens next.
It actually is a good way of getting people excited for the episode, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the anime. My status as an assassin and how I stopped worrying to love the bomb is actually still going on, with the most recent season actually coming out of April of this year. So it's kind of weird talking about something that is actively still releasing episodes so recently.
As this episode, anyways.
I enjoyed this show a lot for what it was, and yeah, as a whole, I think Isekai Month 2026 turned out really good. I had a lot of fun with it, talked about a lot of unique different anime, one of them more interesting than the others, let's put it that way, but that being said, they all were really interesting, but now it is time for the question of the week, which is, what was your favorite episode of Isekai Month 2026? I'll go first, and my choice is actually going to be one that a lot of people probably would expect because, I'm sorry, she got the best score. How could I not? It's actually going to be Overlord, although it wasn't a runaway hit, and I'll explain why, but the reason why Overlord gets the spot is because, man, the animation is just beautiful. The fact that this is an episode that was entirely about the lizard men also says volumes, and let's be honest, Crush Lulu got a perfect score for a reason. How could she not? It's one of those things where it's really easy to see why this is so great. Everything about it just works. It looks beautiful. The plot is pretty well done for what it was. The amount of characters we get for it is good, and the fact that's really interesting is that the main character of the anime doesn't even show up once, and yet it still is so good. So that's not even my first choice, but it won only by a hair over what is actually my second choice, which a lot of you probably wouldn't expect, which is I've been killing slimes for 300 years and stopped living and became a mixed up zombie. I'm sorry, I just had so much fun watching it. The We Went to a Dragon's Wedding episode. That, to me, was probably the most fun I've had watching something on Isekai Month so far. I just had such a giant ear-to-ear grin while watching it. It was a great show. I really hope we cover it again in the future because I really would like to see more of it. What the episode we saw, We Went to a Dragon's Wedding, is any indication, there is a lot more fun to follow. But Overlord pushes it just a little bit more because it's a little bit more serious and it is a little bit better paced, but it really was almost neck and neck there for a second. But that's going to be my pick for my favorite episode of Isekai Month this year was. It's going to be Overlord. Anyway, let's see, Angron, what would your pick be?
As much as I also want to agree on Overlord, which I do, I have to go with Assassin because Arfaretta, for obvious reasons, was quite the surprise, to say the least. Pleasant surprise, but yeah. The King one was darn adorable, even if it was kind of short-lived. Killing slimes, yeah, it was definitely adorable. I gotta agree on that one, but I honestly think that one was just good. Not bad, not overly groundbreaking, just good. But Assassin, meanwhile, let's just say that one was a little more relatable compared to the other stuff that we've covered on here, because, like, a cat taking on the form of a dragon, what's not to love about that? But there's also more to it than just that moment and just the overall pet the kittiness of that. A good build-up that, like, makes you interested in what happens next. There's little touches like the scenery, the slice of life. It keeps you invested. That's pretty much what I can say about the Assassin episode. Like, it keeps you interested on what's happening next. The same can be said with Arfaretta, but if you didn't start at the beginning with Arfaretta, you're probably gonna lose interest. And as for Overlord, kind of the same deal. It at least has a nice little slice of lifeness about it, as puts you into perspective of races outside of the Tomb of Nazarick, which I definitely give props for that. But yeah, it's not exactly this episode because, like, from beginning to end, it keeps you interested. It makes you curious about what happened before. And since it's episode 3, it definitely isn't going to be too hard to do that. It also has that homeliness. It has, like, so many things about it that make it easily the best thing that I've viewed, even compared to Arifureta, which was the first isekai that made me go, wonder what the beginning is like. Yeah, glad I did. Definitely a better endeavor than Magicians was. Those are hours of my life I'm not getting back. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Assassin.
Yep, I can definitely see why, because that's a show that, well, it's the most recent one we talked about, obviously, but it's also really just unique in a way, and we'll have to see how the Dragoness Scale goes, right? Because I think we're going to have very differing opinions. But with that being said, it still is a really enjoyable show. I had a lot of fun with this one as well. This is probably third in my ranking list. Let's see. Math, what your pick be?
Like last year, I have seen all these shows, so I'm actually going to be ranking them in order of my least to most favorite. And even if you're at the bottom here, you're still like an 8 out of 10 show. These have all been fantastic this year. At the bottom is my status as an assassin, because while I do really like the show, especially visually, I find that the characters throughout the show are a little bit not bland, but not original or unique or special, except for Knight. Knight is best girl. Love her.
To be fair, Akira is a little more diverse and has more depth compared to something like Arifureta and Makoto, but I get where you're coming from with that.
Next is Beginning After the End, and that one hurts because the animation budget for the show was a shoestring, and they tried to do a lot of stuff with it, and they just could not get it through, unfortunately, which is a damn shame because I love all the characters in that, especially Sylvia, who is one of animation's best grandmas, and then Sylvie, who we will be talking about later, who is just an adorable little bean. Third is Arifureta. I like this more than most of my co-hosts here because I've seen the whole damn thing, and trust me, guys, it does get better as it goes on. I promise you. It is still 3 at G5 me, but it does improve overall, and when they settle into the characters as a whole, especially after a certain event towards the end of season 1, it becomes a lot more tolerable, and I think that it is worth going through to see it progress, but I can understand why you guys have negative feelings towards it. Trust me, I ain't faulting you there. In any other year, I think I've Been Killing Slimes would have been my favorite this year because it is what I really like in isekais right now. It's that comfy, cozy, kind of a cross between a little bit of world building and a little bit of just lackadaisical having fun. Especially you saw in Farming Life, which was my favorite from last year. I love those kind of isekais, and the chaotic, wild, colorful energy that they bring to this is just so bright and pleasant, and it just makes it such an enjoyable watch. The problem is they're going up against Overlord, and there is a reason that Overlord is considered one of the OG staples of the isekai world. Big Bad Bone Daddy Ainz Algon is considered one of the greatest characters of all time. The show is fantastic. It's been running for over a decade, and short of the fact that they've just run out of source material, that it would not be stopping. It has fantastic world, fantastic characters, as we saw with Crush Lulu, but just all of them all around. Fantastic magic system. Everything, the battle animation, everything about it is just a 10 out of 10 anime. And there is a reason it is considered one of the GOATs of anime in general.
That is definitely a great choice right there. Again, I can easily see why you'd pick that because, yeah, I mean, it's legendary for a reason. So let's see. Shark, what would your pick be?
I think they want to be like the best balance of, the world building, the like couple characters, the way the magic world, and especially how it looks. I think I'm gonna go with Assassin. Like, sure, I did like the slime one. It's a very cozy, maybe a little too cozy. Like, they're definitely going for the cute factor a lot in there. Then we have the other one where the dragon and the shoving, and yeah, I'm not gonna talk a lot of the other one. And where Overlord also, again, it has a cool, like, yeah, the Dragoness there got a perfect score for a reason. And yeah, it's kind of interesting how we saw, like, an episode where the main character doesn't appear. We actually get to see the war in there and all of that. The other one, I don't really have very much to say about the one I'm not mentioning right now, but I think Assassin make like the perfect balance between all the stuff we've seen, okay? The characters are likable, but not too sweet, and definitely they are not Hajime, so that's a plus. The world building, as I said, we do see the character, but at the same time, we see a bit of the other team, like we see what the other characters do when the main, it's not like pushy when Akira is not on screen, the other characters, actually no, they did that. I mean, it's an interesting war, and yeah, as you mentioned it, the art style is great. The credit scene, the environments, even the action scene look amazing. The team in animation team did such a good job, and yeah. And even though the Dragoness here is definitely the one with the least amount of screen time as a Dragoness, it was still a likable character and all of that. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Assassin for that.
Wow, I was not expecting two answers to be about what this anime was. I'm not surprised at the same time because, man, this episode really was a fun time. And overall, I think we had a lot of fun with Isekai Month overall. And yeah, 2027, feel free to give any suggestions to that. We got a lot of fun ones planned and probably do some more non-Isekai anime this year too. So that'll be interesting. Look out for that if that happens. Now it is time for the patent pending Dragoness Scale, where we are going to rank Knight. And this is going to be a unique one because do they have a fantastic personality? Absolutely. If we were just going by them in their kitty form, perfect score, 10 out of 10, no notes. However, with the Dragoness Scale, it's in the name. We are ranking the Dragoness form of her. And I'm sorry, I really hate to do this because I loved the cat form. Like, if the cat form was the dragon form, like that was her permanent form, is to be a dragoness and to be exactly like that. Perfect score, 10 out of 10. She would have gotten the same score as Crush Lulu. But I have to give her a 7. And that's because her as a dragoness, she's fierce, I give her that. She has a fantastic design, but she doesn't really show any of the depth that she has in her feline form. Basically, if she had the same amount of dialogue or the same amount of characterization as the cat in the dragon form, it would have been a lot higher. But with that being said, she looks fantastic. Everything about her is just amazing, but she just feels, again, more like an obstacle, at least in the dragoness form, that it was meant to just be a dragon that he defeats, and then we have the big reveal. It feels almost like the dragon form is a little bit more on the back burner in a way. It's one of those things where, again, I would absolutely love to give her a perfect score and all that, but I'm going to have to go with 7, which is still really, really good for her character, but I just cannot give her any higher because they don't really do anything with the dragoness part of it. If they did, it'd be higher, but they didn't, so let's see. Angron, what would your pick be?
I kinda have to agree. Like, bear in mind, like, I do like the design of the dragon. It's cool. It's like pretty sleek. It basically matches the knight's form to a T for the most part. But at the end of the day, she doesn't really do much with this dragon form, and that's kind of a grievous sin when you are a being with the ability to shapeshift and utilize the abilities of the being you are shapeshifting into, which, not gonna lie, her picking a dragon as a shapeshift into as a dungeon boss, I love that, and her personality definitely shines through and helps her stand out as far as the characters go. But I wish that could have shown through while she was in her dragon form as well, because otherwise, the dragon, Lud said, an obstacle, like just basically something for the hero to overcome. In this case, it's the assassin, and because of that, it makes the character feel flat and tiny bit uninteresting. Don't get me wrong, love the design. It looks cool. It looks like a shadowy knight-like being, which, yeah, giving it to Night Cat, no duh. But at the end of the day, I can't give it anything higher than a 7 for that reason. Great design, peak stuff. She plays the role of a dragon to a T. I just wish some of her actual personality shone through as a dragon. Context is everything, and I get the context here, but the context kind of hinders her score for that reason.
I thought long and hard about this one because I have been notoriously very forgiving of these anime characters. I've for the rest of this month prior, I rated all of them 10s. I have also been very forgiving for how little they have been in Dragoness form because I've seen the whole show, and typically what happens is they at least are in dragon form or lizard form for an episode or for a good amount of time, even if they aren't in the rest of the series. So I've given them leeway with that. Here is the major problem, and this is why sometimes I wish this was a character scale, or even in this case, a kitty scale, rather than a dragoness scale, because she is only a dragoness for about 90 seconds at the tail end of that second episode, and that's why we talked about that, because that's the only time in this whole show that she appears as a dragoness. Otherwise, she is cat or she is transformed into some other variant creature. And that has destroyed my ability to give this a perfect score as much as I want to. She is my favorite character in this show. I love her so much. I wanted to give her a 10, but in all good conscience, I could not do that because this is the Dragoness scale. So because of how little she is in that form, even by my forgiving standard, I stretched as hard as I could, and I can only give her an 8.
Why you gotta do this to me, assassin? Why?
I can definitely see where you're coming from with that. So let's see, Shark, what would you give her?
Well, yeah, as pointed out, this is a Dragoness Scale, and as much as the character is fun and has a great design as a cat and all of that, I mean, we have to cover 2 episodes to even able to talk about her, so... Yeah, this character suffers the same thing as the other one from Moonlight, in which they're a great character, but the fact that they're only a dragon for 1 episode, and in this case, it's even like just 3 or 4 minutes of dragon, unlike the other one that was a dragon for a noticeable long while. Yeah, that really hurts her because she's a great character, okay? Personality and her abilities are great, but I mean, I'm calling you a dragon is almost a stretch here, so just like Lud, honestly, I cannot go and give it anything other than a 7 out of 10.
So that means that for Isekai Month 2, the overall winner of this one was Crush Lulu, who got a perfect score across the board. And yeah, she is most likely, she probably is going to be the highest ranked dragoness in Isekai Month, unless somebody can match her score, which we'll have to see next May. But that's going to be it for this week. If you have any questions, or if you want to suggest what isekai you'd like to see for next year, feel free to email us at fiorydiscourse@outlook.com. Visit us at Twitter at twitter.com/fiorydiscourse. Visit us at Blue Sky Fiery Discourse. Be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, hit the bell icon. Any all comments are appreciated. Next week, we're going to be talking about the 2003 Lloyd in Space episode, A Place for Larry. We're going way off course with this one from what we just talked about. Something entirely different, but it'll be a lot of fun because Lloyd in Space is pretty much just Recess in space. So... yeah, if you're a fan of Recess and that kind of comedy and humor, it's pretty much the same thing here. So that'll be a lot of fun to talk about that.
We're going to be living like Larry in space.
Join us next time in space. Hey.
That's even more appropriate because Bill Fagerbaki is actually a part of the show, which we'll get to when we get to that. That's going to be it for this week. And until then, thank you all so much for listening and take care.
Sayonara.
So,
Bye-bye.
See you all next week.